Hello, I'm Shit Pete, and it's time for another DayZ rant, because they're fun, aren't they? Ha ha ha, we're all having fun. For those of you that don't know how these work, they're not supposed to be the law, they're not supposed to be the be-all and end-all, they're just a few little ideas that I've thought of. Maybe you'll rip them to shreds in the comments, maybe you'll like them in the comments, so we see what works and what doesn't, and what you guys would find impressive. But it's basically just to refine ideas to the point that we can suggest them to Rocket, or without embarrassment. For instance, in my last Doodle Rant, someone took my facial recognition idea and adapted it to a more simplified system where you just look at someone off an open terrain, and then maybe down in the bottom, much like the standalone currently says, you are thirsty, you are hungry, it will say, I recognise that person. It would stop accidental killings of your friends and would also add more importance to binoculars that then become this really important reconnaissance tool. And we got to that idea just through a little bit of interaction between me and you, and I wouldn't be ashamed to have that idea officially sent to Rocket in some capacity. But anyway, it's time for some new, ill-thought-out, ill-planned ideas, so let's get to them. I don't know if you're like me, but one of my favourite experiences in DayZ is that moment when you see the smoke off in the horizon, you know there's a helicopter crash and you're going to get some good items, or you're going to have a bit of excitement around stalking this position for all it's worth. I seem to remember reading or seeing in an interview that helicopter crashes weren't going to be in the DayZ standalone, and that's fine if it's from a technical point of view and they can't be in, that's fine. But I really think that something similar needs to be in. And I've thought of a system that in a house on Chernarus, some random house in the middle of nowhere, there will be a gun nut's house, you know, like a survivalist specialist, some guy who just was obsessed with surviving the apocalypse and has somehow died and left all of his stuff in his house. And I know what you're saying, that may give too much power to the person that finds this item, but if anything, I think it'll really encourage this forever looting of the entirety of Chernarus, because there won't just be these people that are going to these high military loot areas. People will have to search every single house on the entire map of Chernarus, because you can't know where this house is going to spawn. And I just love the idea that maybe some new person's playing the game and they haven't got a good gun, or they haven't had a good fun experience, and they'll find this house in the middle of nowhere and it'll give them everything they need, and it'll be this ultimate high for this new person. Just because they were a good scavenger and they were staying away from these high traffic areas, they've then got everything that they need. Or maybe then this house becomes a real hub of activity. Maybe word gets out that this house is out there and people start scavenging a certain area. I just really think it'll add a lot to the game and force more traffic around the map rather than these high interest areas. This may be a bit of a morbid idea, and if anybody's had a similar situation happen to them, I'm really apologetic and I'm sorry. But within the logout screen, you know how when you've got your leg broken you can set to respawn? I really think there should be a system within the DayZ standalone where, say you get a bad spawn and you're in Kamenka, we all know what that's like, fucking Kamenka, but you're down in Kamenka and you decide you want to commit suicide because it's a bad spawn and your friends are all up north or whatever. That's probably going to happen anyway. That's unavoidable. But I really like the thought that maybe there aren't any zombies around, so you can't run into a horde, that you find a Makarov with a few bullets. You then are able to select an option where you put a Makarov to your head and blow your own brains out. And maybe there's a similar system with pain pills. Maybe you can take 6 pain pills in a go and then you pass out and die. Maybe you can use your hunting knife to slit your wrist. Once again, I'm not trying to glorify committing suicide, but maybe if you added the ultimate humiliation that someone is killing themselves and leaving a body on the Chernarus map that people can then run up to and, you know, investigate, and it says, you know, Sniper 66 has killed himself, maybe it would add a certain level of humiliation that people will stop committing suicide as much. And even if it doesn't do that, it adds a new level of human drama to respawning. I just like the idea of people having to scavenge ways to commit suicide, because we've all seen situations in zombie survival films and stuff like The Walking Dead where people are faced with the horrible life that they now have to live in this zombie apocalypse, and they opt out, they kill themselves. And I think it totally fits in with the dark survival theme that DayZ is going with. A little idea I thought of to maybe stop the shoot on sight problem is to broadcast more the items that people have on them on their player character. For instance, say you're running around with a car tyre, you'll have that car tyre on your back. I know what you're saying, there'll be situations where someone needs a car tyre, they'll see you running with a car tyre and they'll shoot you with the intent of taking it. But I have to think there's going to be more likely the situation that people are going to see you with a car tyre and go, oh, he knows where a car is, I'm going to follow him. And anything that encourages that stalk and beast stalked type of gameplay is only beneficial. And maybe it's the same with car engines and any large item, and maybe even that you can only carry one of these items on your back, and that means that maybe there's an incentive to get people, hold them hostage, and make them become these pack mules for you that just carry items from one place to another. Admittedly, at the end of it, they could just shoot you when they've gotten what they wanted out of you, but anything that gives you a few more seconds of being alive rather than being a rotting, fly-riddled corpse on the floor. This idea has been talked to death, but it's still, in my opinion, one of the most fun things to think about, and that's the concept of players turning into zombies. I know the general consensus is by the community and probably Rocket that it'll never be implemented. And I don't mean players controlling the zombies, I just mean that you are eventually going to turn into a zombie. There are probably better ideas for it to be implemented, but my idea is, much like the DayZ mod, you get the infection, but somewhere between 30 minutes and 6 hours or something like that, you're going to turn into a zombie, and there are ways you can face that reality. You can either go, right, there's no way I'm going to make it to hospital, I'm just going to blow my own brains out now, much using the suicide system that I said before. Maybe you decide that you're going to fight it to the bitter end, you push to a hospital, and it just so happens that you've got quite a long time limit, so you make it there and you get the antibiotics and this ultimate feeling of survival. Maybe you are a malicious person and you start to realize that you're not going to survive it, so you'll put yourself in the most dangerous and optimized position possible for you to change and rip the throats out of all of your group that you're with. Just adding that drama, the zombie horror that we're all used to and we all love. Right, so there's my ideas. I encourage you to comment and like as you see fit. Obviously, once again, this is all about chatting and improving ideas, maybe throwing your own ideas that I can then use in a future episode of Doodle Rant, because this is a show now, and you will enjoy it. Oh, also, I'm planning on doing an episode of Doodle Rant that's all about stuff that you can potentially craft in the DayZ standalone and ideas that you guys have. So send me an inbox of the idea that you have, preferably this item plus this item equals this item. And don't send me more than like 5 because that'll be mental. And try and make them ideas that are sort of beneficial to gameplay or add some drama to the game or some way that you can manipulate players. Don't just make them meat plus stick equals dildo rabbit or something stupid like that. Alright then. See you, bye!